Good Lord, we're back again for another episode of We Need to Talk About ... But this one's a little bit different.
Little smidgen of a difference.
We've covered 3 films
Yes.
from different eras, different decades, different genres. For this episode, we've gone for a bit of a palate cleanser. This is more of a spin-off from our film review series. We are here to not talk about one film, but we're actually going to be talking about something from both our childhoods. Not just one film, but a series of short films.
Indeed.
Hopefully these will be sort of shorter episodes, but you know how we like to go off on one.
We do.
Quite often.
Yeah.
So the idea is that we'll have these shorter reviews between the longer film reviews. Again, to be a nice little palate cleanser, a nice little slice of lemon and lime there. And what we're here to talk about is... the Americans will know them as PSAs, public service.
Public service announcements. What we're talking about is public information films.
Which is the same kind of thing, but over here in Blighty.
Our parents taught us a lot. In my case, it wasn't just my parents. You can probably add the Doctor, Asterix, Tintin and John Shaft to that list. And look at me now.
Oh dear.
Anyway, for everything else, we had public information films. Now, public information films, or PIFs, were a series of government-commissioned short films shown during television ad breaks in the UK, and as we mentioned, the US equivalent would be public service announcements. The films advise the public on what to do in a multitude of situations, ranging from crossing the road to surviving a nuclear attack.
The ones for the nuclear attack were not necessarily broadcast. They were filmed.
They were filmed.
But they weren't officially broadcast.
No. They are sometimes thought to concern only topics related to safety. But there are public information films on many other subjects, including animal cruelty, protecting the environment, crime prevention, and how to vote in an election or fill out a census form.
And in some cases, even as simple as covering your fucking mouth when you're sneezing, you filthy get.
Many of these films were aimed at children and were shown during breaks in children's programmes during the holidays and weekends. The general low-budget quality and the infamous static crackle before them gave them a Hammer horror-style aura.
Which I have to say is quite surprising when you're not trying to watch an episode of Tis Was or Saturday Morning Swap Shop and then this comes on.
Now, that's not to say that all PIFs were like this. Not at all. You also had the likes of the Green Cross Code Man showing children how to cross the road safely.
Hang on, isn't that the Dark Lord of the Sith himself, David Prowse?
Okay, bad example. Okay, how about this? You had popular children's television presenters and celebrities teaching young children how to swim.
Kids and water, they love it. Rivers, canals, even the lily pond in the garden. You can't keep them.
Okay.
Moving on.
I know. What about passenger safety in the car?
Click the seatbelt, even if you are just going round the corner. Clunk, click every trip.
Oh! No, move on. Right, we're really struggling here. Please, is there someone who is in these things that is pure and has the heart of a hero?
Well, now we'll all remember the Green Cross Code. And use it. Splink!
Oh, thank Gallifrey for that. The history of PIFs goes back to World War II, where they were shown in cinemas. I mean, many were made by and starred a gentleman called Richard Massingham, an amateur actor who set up Public Relationship Films Limited when he discovered that there was no specialist film company in this area. They were commissioned by the Ministry of Information, and Massingham's work has since gained a cult following for their quirky and often humorous tone. After the war, public information films were produced by the Central Office of Information, which is now closed, and again by private contractors, which were usually small film companies.
PIFs were supplied to broadcasters free of charge for them to use whenever they wished. Their usefulness as a cost-free means to fill in the gaps in fixed-duration commercial breaks left by unsold advertising airtime led to them being used regularly and extensively throughout the 1960s, 1970s and much of the 1980s. And consequently, within both the COI and broadcasting companies, they were typically known as fillers. Fillers produced by the COI were mainly for domestic use. However, COI films were also commissioned by the British Foreign Office to supply films for overseas use. These films dealt with research and development, British products and the British way of life. They were usually distributed throughout the diplomatic network, but not always. Some films were sold commercially to overseas outlets, mostly television. The COI closed on December 30th, 2011, after 65 years.
So, that's the background. And now we turn to our first review of a classic public information film from 1973. Now this is a short one to begin with. It's only less than a couple of minutes long. But as the series progresses, we might do some of the longer films, and if we have several films of a similar length to this one, a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, then we might do a couple in an episode. So, without further ado, we present from 1973, Lonely Water.
Or to give it its full title, The Spirit of Dark and Lonely Water.
I am the spirit of dark and lonely water, ready to trap the unwary, the show-off, the fool. And this is the kind of place you'd expect to find me. But no one expects to find me here. It seems too ordinary. But that pool is deep. The boy is showing off. The bank is slippery. The show-offs are easy. But the unwary ones are easier still. This branch is weak, rotten. It'll never take his weight. Only a fool would ignore this. But there's one born every minute. Under the water there are traps. Old cars, bedsteads, weeds, hidden depths. It's the perfect place for an accident.
Oh, look, there's someone in the water. Quick, use that big stick to get him out.
Sensible children. I have no power over them.
Oi, mate, that's a stupid place to swim. Hey, go over and get that thing to wrap him in. You don't feel cold, mate. How long was you in there? Ew, what thing?
I'll be back.
Hang on a minute, was that Donald bloody Pleasence as the voice of death? Luke? Luke?
It's okay, I'm safe. There's nothing in the water. It's okay, I'm safe. There's nothing in the water. There's nothing in the water. There's nothing in the water. There's nothing in the water.
Okay, so while Luke gets back from his happy place, let's talk about Lonely Water. Now, obviously we've made jokes about Rolf Harris and what have you, and certainly looking back now with 2018 eyes, that clip looks just as sinister as Donald Pleasence as the Grim Reaper. But at the end of the day, the one with Rolf Harris did have a positive message. It was like, right, teach kids to swim, give kids the confidence to be in the water. Whilst with this one, it's just a case of don't go near the fucking water whatsoever.
Danger lurks in the water. It's not safe in the water.
If anything, between that and Jaws, you can see why I may have turned into a bit of an aquaphobe over during my youth. It's like, I'm going nowhere near the fucking water.
It does genuinely give you some mixed messages. So that one was from 1973, and I think the Learn to Swim one may have been a little bit later, to be honest with you. But that's so the classic and sort of public information films that we saw. They did have some sort of message. That it was telling children about certain dangers. And there's various other ones. I mean, there's although not strictly public information films because they were funded by the British Transport. There's various ones about sort of when playing or don't play.
Oh God!
By train tracks.
A couple of infamous ones. One is the finishing line, which I think we're going to have to cover in its own separate episode, mainly because it features depictions of graphic views of dead and dying children.
Yes.
Which is just what you want to watch when you're in school.
Very, very cheery subject matter.
And that was deemed to be so violent they actually pulled it from a few months later, only to be replaced with another film called Robbie,
which is equally as grim,
and ended up getting re-edited and shown again in the 80s. But then even that was deemed to be too graphic, so that got pulled and was replaced eventually by something called Killing Time.
Yeah. I mean, all of these things. I mean, the ones we've got not playing near electrical pylons and substations. I mean, generally speaking, and I don't know, most of these do end up with children dying rather horribly.
Which says a lot because you don't even get that in horror films.
No.
In horror films, children don't die. I mean, they might get possessed. But But
ultimately, they will be fine. Their possession will end, etc., etc., and everybody lives in beautiful harmony. These ones, oh no. But you've also got to remember this as well. We're watching this now in 2018. We're both now adults, questionably, but technically we are. We both have children. Yes, I know, as stupid as that may seem. There is no way.
Not together, you understand.
No, not together.
On our own.
No. Here's my hetero life, mate. But that's. But we would never show our kids these. I mean, I've got younger kids. I think the big daddy has one sort of mid-teens, and even he looked at this and went, "Ooh, that's a bit grim."
Yes, I have a teenage boy. You've probably seen him on some of the other videos that I've done where we've been
yes, that's true,
unboxing stuff and eating sticks of Blackpool Rock of questionable flavours. And even he was like, no, I'm not watching this, and left the room. Mainly because Donald Pleasence, who is an excellent actor, absolutely gives it his all, and his voice is suitably creepy and haunting. To the point where, when Channel 4 was doing its some sort of celebration of how long it'd been going around for, and it was like top 100 scariest moments in Channel 4 history, and this clip that we've just watched was number 4 in the list.
Yeah. And that is for literally that's for an advert or a public information film that is a minute
and a half.
And people are that scared of it, and it is genuinely really, really scary. It is his delivery. But again, Donald Pleasence has been in many a film, many a horror film, and many various
I'll tell you
very, very famous films as well. If you consider, he is the original Blofeld,
the original Dr. Sam Loomis in Halloween. And I'll tell you something now, if he'd have turned up in Halloween as this guy rather than Sam Loomis, Michael Myers would have been straight out of fucking Haddonfield. It's I'm off.
And obviously most famous for all, the blind forger in The Great Escape. Let me come with you. I can see perfectly. This isn't supposed to be one of the main reviews. We're supposed to be, we're doing little tricks here, but
making little passports there out of a bit of tin and a bit of jam. Clang, 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 clang. It's a bit clangy and a bit jammy. Yes, I'm from the Jam and Spoon division of Stuttgart. That's a bit of Eddie Izzard in there for you.
But I think these are wonderful things, and these are from our childhoods. Both of us grew up in the 80s, and these were genuinely always on. And as when we were growing up in the 1980s at school, we would sort of break for lessons in school and watch schools TV. This is the thing: schools TV on Big C2, and there'd be a TV on a trolley or something like that. They would wheel it in, and then sort of 10 o'clock we would watch whatever program it was on whatever subject, and then sort of some project work will be around that.
Look and learn, stop, look, listen.
Zigzag.
Look
and read.
Look and read. That was another one. The one with the orange pencil, top to bottom.
That was Words and Pictures.
Words and Pictures.
That was Words and Pictures. Look and Read was with there's loads of people that are probably going to be watching this, and they won't know what we're talking about. But we're going to mention Wordy. From Look and Read with Bill the Bricky and Magic E, and that's not a euphemism for something else. This is the thing. All of these things.
See, sometimes you'd be sitting down, great, we're watching a delightful children's programme, and then your teacher would go, well, actually, we're watching a different type of film today, and then they'd put something like this on. Now, I don't ever recall watching The Finishing Line or Apache. I didn't see these until much later when they were on YouTube, when they became infamous. But I did see Robbie, and I did see the one about a construction site, building sites bite, or sort of, I believe it was something.
It was something like that. That there would have been this. There would have been one about a child trying to retrieve his frisbee from a substation.
That is which
ended particularly badly.
That is genuinely fucking haunted, because not only does he get fried to a crisp, but then his younger brother or sister comes running in, and as they kneel down to sort of try and touch him, they put their hand on a live bit,
and they get electrocuted too.
Yeah, and cut to a pair of trainers, all sort of smoke coming out, and it was nightmare fuel. It was absolute nightmare fuel.
It was nightmare fuel,
and they worked, because after this, The amount of fatalities that you got of kids playing on farms, building sites, train tracks, near electrical pylons, the amount of deaths did reduce. So, I mean, in this day now, if you were to sort of show a clip like that at school, you're getting parents filing lawsuits saying your film traumatised my 8-year-old. Well, they might have traumatised your 8-year-old, but they'll never play on a fucking railway line ever again.
To use a phrase, it scared them straight, basically.
It scared them shitless.
It scared them shitless, but it also scared them straight.
So I think we've pretty much covered what we want to cover in this particular episode. As I said,
Yeah.
these are only meant to be short ones. Sorry, there's also the Charlie Says videos as well, which were a very popular series.
Yes, they also covered many things, and I think there was one about water safety as well with Charlie.
And Stranger Danger. This man wants to show me his puppies. And of course, you've got Charlie there, voiced by the brilliant comedian Kenny Everett, going. Charlie says I shouldn't be going with other people.
Seriously, you've
I've
got
got
all
to
of
tell
that.
my mummy first.
Got all that from that.
It's memorable. It's absolutely memorable. So they certainly had a place in society back then. You could argue maybe they'll have a place in society now. They just sort of need to move with the times and don't be quite so fucking terrifying. But
That would be nice.
I think this is time we can sort of wrap up this particular episode.
Absolutely.
We do have another film review on the way at some point, and I'm sure that we'll cover more of these PIFs at some point as well. Yeah. Mainly the finishing line. I think that may have to be the next one that we cover. Just
because it's just insane and horrific in equal measure.
Yeah. And when you're crossing the road, don't forget, David Prowse will always be there to guide you. Especially when in random intervals, in some of the random clips, they completely dubbed his voice because no one could understand his Cornish accent.
That wasn't very clever, was it? If you'd been looking and listening all the way across, that wouldn't have happened.
Yes, that was not the first time that David Prowse got his voice dubbed.
This is true, yeah.
Who else used to help us crossing the road? Oh yes, there was Alvin Stardust, even though it looked like he was wearing a dead cat on his head. And Tufty was there as well, yes.
Oh,
the Tufty
and
Club.
actually...
Were you a member of the Tufty Club?
I was not a member of the Tufty Club,
thankfully. I was. I
Yeah.
had the badge and everything.
But also talking about road safety and crossing the road, if you're in the know about all these things, there's lots of examples of British TV that doesn't exist anymore. That the archives have been wiped. If you're a Doctor Who fan, then you'll know about.
I just knew you were going to put a Doctor Who reference in there.
Just I have to do this.
Was it John Pertwee shouting "Splink" wasn't enough?
No, it's never enough.
Splink!
The episodes like Doctor Who and the classic 1960s Avengers series, they don't exist anymore. That these things have been sort of wiped, and there's always sort of efforts to actually get these things back. Well, interestingly, a clip has emerged of a road safety sort of PI public information film style thing
Before crossing the road,
with this gentleman.
Look right, look left.
Holy
Yes.
shit! It's Adam West, everybody.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest Batman ever came over here and did something for us.
So you never did that, did you, Ben Affleck? If you'd have taught more children how to cross the road, maybe Batman v Superman would have gotten over better. And of course, when budget started to run out, they had to fall back on other superheroes. Superheroes that just so happened to be a Welsh teddy bear with oddly shaped pyjamas, who obviously had a fucking idiot spotty mate who didn't know how to cross the road properly.
Remember, I can't be there to save you, especially on the planet Earth.
Well, you're not much of a fucking superhero then, are you?
Also remember as well, Spotty, voiced by John Pertwee.
Oh God, yes. Well, speaking of John Pertwee, I think it's time. I think that we should give.
I think we should.
Pretty much everyone's favourite Doctor Who. Well, all right, Tom Baker's all right, but we should give
yes.
most people's favourite Doctor Who the final word in this. So just remember, when you're crossing the road and you're not too sure what you've got to do, remember these famous words.
Splink! 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 Splink!
blink.